How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. The gap is widening. The gap is widening between the people that are bullish and the people that are bearish in the market. There are entities that are buying like mad right now. There are also entities that are selling significantly. If you don't mind, hit subscribe. Turn on the bell notification underneath the video so you can see future videos just like this. We'll be going through some of the big news in the market, so you want to stay through to the end. Also, there are going to be a couple links underneath the video. One is to Margex, where you can trade cryptocurrency using leverage. Of course, always check the terms and conditions, but there's no KYC, and you don't need a VPN to start trading. There's also a link down there to CoinW. Very similar, but you can also trade spot, so you can go buy Bitcoin and just withdraw it to a cold storage wallet with USD, for example, or USDT. And they're doing this massive airdrop right now where you can get up to 100 million jungle tokens, which it's around 6 cents or 0.00005 cents right now. So you can get maybe a couple $1,000s. This is a small market cap as well, just $5 million. So in a bull run, this could do quite well. Now, let's take a look at the overall market today. We have Bitcoin falling down under 65,000. We had seen some support around 65, then we just broke it, okay? Ethereum down significantly as well, down 3% to Bitcoin's 0.7%. BNB down 3%, Solana down 5%, XRP 3%, Toncoin 11%. Like, it is a bloody day in the crypto market. Some cryptos down a lot more. I mean, these are some of the biggest cryptos out there, and they're down 10, 7, 12%. So it's bloody. The whole market is going down significantly today. There are a couple different reasons for that. Let's just go through some of them. One, we just have a lot of liquidations. Over the last 24 hours, we've had $390 million worth of crypto, long cryptos being wrecked, liquidated. Most of it is not Bitcoin either. Bitcoin's only 70 million, a lot coming from ETH and a lot coming from others as well. Dogecoin. There's just like a lot of longs that were more aggressive, that were trying to time the bounce, that are now getting liquidated. So that's part of it. Also, dominance just continues to roll up. And this is interesting because we actually see the ETFs selling. So Bitcoin ETFs just continue to kind of inflows one week, outflows the next. We can see Fidelity had a $92 million outflow. IBIT had zero. So overall, we had a net 146 million out of the Bitcoin ETFs, which Bitcoin's still holding up better than the altcoins. You can see we bottomed out here back in the bear market, or during the bull market, bottom out on Bitcoin dominance. Then bear market started. It moved pretty much straight up. Now you can see it kind of rounding off a little bit, it looks like, but it's still looking really strong. There are two lines that you have to pay attention to. One is just a simple resistance line. This was the bounce. This was the support that we had back in 2020 on Bitcoin dominance, right around 57%. And it was resistance back in April, right around 57%. So we're at 56% right now. I'd be watching this line. I'd also be watching this trend line that we flipped into support recently. You can see we used it as resistance. It was resistance again, a little bit this bull market right here, but then we broke above it, and then we've used it as support twice. Maybe it continues as support and we keep on falling down further and further with lower lows on Bitcoin dominance, and maybe we get an altcoin season, but at this point, Bitcoin dominance looks strong. Bitcoin is a good portion of the market, and it seems like there's a sentiment change where people don't really want utility coins. There's some layer ones that people want, like people like the narrative behind Toncoin, which is basically they have one of the largest messaging apps in the world. They can use it for games, that kind of stuff. But if you look at a lot of other cryptos, they're just dead. Like, they're not doing anything. They have not done anything since the bottom of the bear market. They're still 80% away from their all-time highs. And I mean, they're still down 80%. So they need to like 5x to hit their all-time high. It's just ugly. I mean, gaming hasn't done much recently. AI has been pretty good. AI tokens just in general, this bull market doing well. Meme coins have done well. Bitcoin's done well. A couple layer ones here or there have done well. But it's not like you can just throw your money at any crypto and have it do well right now, which is interesting. Very different than last bull market and the bull market before that. But to be clear, we're not in altcoin season yet. So that may change. Just kind of interesting to see Bitcoin dominance continue to move up. Now that gives you a good opportunity, because when do you want to invest in things? Well, typically when they're undervalued. And a lot of people would say, well, these altcoins have not run. A lot of these altcoins have not run yet, and they actually have real utility. Personally, I've been 70 to 80% Bitcoin this entire bull market, sometimes even more than 80%. And it just depends on what cryptos run when. But I wouldn't mind buying some more altcoins, but I realize that I am investing more speculatively. It's much more speculative to invest in other coins instead of Bitcoin. Even if they have more upside, there is more risk. So it's just something to consider. Now, that being said, there are some people buying. Obviously, if the price is going down, there are either more people selling or buyers just aren't willing to pay as much. You can see paper hands are selling, diamond hands are buying. Whales are accumulating the most they've ever done. You can see inflows to accumulation addresses just spiking recently. Okay, really interesting. We also know CleanSpark is buying up rigs, buying up more miners. This is interesting because this is in the Bitcoin mining space, but you can see Bitcoin miners, some of the most successful Bitcoin miners, with game theory, just knowing that after the halving takes place, there are going to be people that want to get out of mining that maybe aren't profitable anymore, and they can probably pick up a lot of mining equipment and mining companies pretty cheaply. So they're accumulating. Good sign, right? It would definitely be a bad sign if all the miners start unplugging their rigs, especially the biggest miners that are the most profitable. If they start unplugging and not accumulating anymore, they just start selling off all their Bitcoin and just liquidated their business, essentially, right? We would not like to see that. We want to see them continue to reinvest in the business, buy more mining rigs, hold onto the Bitcoin, issue more stock to be able to accumulate more and more. And of course, you want it to be accretive, right? You don't want them to dilute you and actually lose shareholder value. But that is kind of what you want to see if you're looking for bullish signs. Sources at BlackRock say that they're doubling down on the scale of the Bitcoin ETF flows in 2025. I mean, I kind of see it as, well, let me read the rest to you. 100 billion surpassed in 2025 for Bitcoin ETF segment. BLK source, did you notice Cathie Wood move? I'm guessing they're talking about actually investing in your own ETFs, in your own Bitcoin ETF. I'm guessing that's what they're talking about. Cathie Wood has a handful of ETFs, and she's been buying, or portfolios, right, of ARKW, right? They have 50 different holdings. She's been buying the Bitcoin ETF within that. That's what we've talked about for so long, that BlackRock and Fidelity have so many ETFs. They have so much AUM that they can actually control, right? They set the ETFs, and they can put BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF within those other portfolios. That's really fascinating, because then they can get more fees. If Bitcoin does well, they can get a lot of appreciation, help juice returns, get more people to be interested in those ETFs. And they haven't really done this. They've announced that they can do it with 2 different ETFs, but they put just a few $1 million into those Bitcoin ETFs within the other ETFs, and they hold like hundreds or thousands of different assets in those broader ETFs. So I would not be surprised if BlackRock put a couple $100 million, maybe $1 billion into their own Bitcoin ETF with the assets of another ETF that they have control over. And we're going to see that more in the future, like when retirement accounts just start allocating to Bitcoin. That is the most bullish thing, in my opinion, along with nation states buying, with more companies buying. But when you start buying Bitcoin through your employer, and that's just your default option, is, 99-1 portfolio, 90% into stocks, 9% into bonds, 1% into Bitcoin. And you just buy that week after week after week after week, or by week, right? Every 2 weeks, and you don't even know it. I think that's extremely bullish. Sources expect Bitcoin to lead 10-1 versus ETH ETFs. Makes sense. ETH is a whole different beast. Obviously, some people won't want to invest in it just because it's smaller as well. Now, how I see it, I think there are going to be some people that are like, okay, that's great to hear, but why aren't they buying now, right? If they think Bitcoin's going to go up, if they are talking about having more inflows, why aren't they pushing people to buy the Bitcoin ETFs now? Keep in mind, we're 5 months after the Bitcoin ETF started trading. This was the most successful launch they've ever had. I'm sure at some point they kind of go back and review what's happened so far, and then they try to make a game plan going forward, right? There are people that sell these ETFs. There are people that manage these ETFs. There are people that think about the strategy and the marketing behind these ETFs. And I'm sure at some point they kind of have to just take in the data and say, okay, how do we grow this? What's the smartest way forward? And we might be in that time right now. It's also summer, right? There aren't a lot of people sitting at their desks on Wall Street right now. Like the really wealthy hedge fund managers might be vacationing a little bit. Their kids just got out of school. They might be in the Hamptons. So there's just not as much volume. It's not as interesting in the summer. Also, this is completely normal for 90 days after the Bitcoin halving, which we're still in that 90-day period. By the way, if you need to feel more bullish about Bitcoin, go watch my video yesterday. I go over why Bitcoin is more bullish fundamentally than it's ever been before, even if the price action doesn't show it. So watch that video. But yeah, BlackRock apparently is doubling down. And Michael Saylor is also going to be buying Bitcoin, maybe announcing in the next day or so that they bought a bunch of Bitcoin because they raised $700 million for him. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. Let me know what you think about the crypto market right now. I appreciate it. Let's stay strong, right? This isn't that bad. We're just in the same range that we have been for 100 days. Just putting up with a little bit of complacency right now. Obviously, there's just not a lot going on, but it's okay. We'll make it through. This is typically a good time to be dollar cost averaging if you need a bigger allocation. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one.